Definitely.
I'm here with Peter to talk about Pain and the new record, I Am, out on Nuclear Blast on May 17th. Fans been waiting for 8 years for this record. Are you as excited as everybody else?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's always um I'm curious always when I release an album what other people think what I've been doing for the last couple of years. So yeah, I'm very curious to see how it goes.
These 8 years between records, is this just a sign of how busy your schedule is and maybe your biggest challenge is time management?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I checked since end of disclosure in 2013. I did two Pain albums, two Hypocrisy album, two Lindemann album, one Jolin Turner album, a handful of production works with other bands, and a hell of a lot touring. So time flies, unfortunately. But now I only have two bands, and that's what I'm going to concentrate on. So we'll definitely not have to sit and wait for 8 years in between new Hippo or new Pain in the future. So.
Well, I gotta tell you this, if you're gonna make us wait for 8 years and the result is as good as this, you can make me wait for another 8 years. I'm totally cool with that.
Yeah. No, I mean, it didn't take me 8 years to write this. It was actually kind of thank you, by the way. The funny thing was, after coming home, I started writing for Pain, and then all suddenly, uh, we I got an offer to write songs for theater, and that ended up on Lindemann album, which was meant to be Pain from the beginning. So after that, I had to restart again, and then I got in contact with Joe, and we got friends, and he needed some songs, so I started again with Pain, and eventually ended up giving him a few songs from Pain. So I tried to start twice, but third's the charm, I guess.
I get the impression listening to this record that this was an album perhaps more born out of the singles than born out of a collective idea. Was that the case?
No, it's just, I mean, every time I write a song, uh, just in general, I don't think about singles and stuff like that. I don't care. The most important for me is to make a good song, and to have something in there that captures you. And I am the only judge on that while I'm making it. So I just follow my hearts, my ears, and just write music. So whatever's on this album, everything is um, written separately, not thinking about the other things. It's always like if you do a fast song, then usually I start writing a slow song or a mid tempo song. So for me, it's just writing songs and have peace and quiet, so I don't have to jump back and forth from touring or planning on stage stuff and things. That takes a lot of time from you. So.
But when you're writing these songs, are you thinking of what the end result as far as the overall record is concerned is going to be, or you don't worry about that until maybe you're a little bit already into it and you have a couple of songs in your back pocket?
Well, with Pain, I just try to push the boundaries of myself as a songwriter and things I never did before. And so for me, it's important to have a variety on Pain albums, and they just comes out of the blue, kind of. I just try to do different things on different songs, try to develop myself as a producer as well. So. Pain is a guinea pig, and if you listen to the other eight albums, they all sound different from each other. I think the only red line is my voice. I think so. For me, it's always a journey when I do Pain stuff to try find new things for me, try to figure out new ways of recording things. So it's when it's done, it's 11 songs of my thoughts 2 years back, I would say.
So the DNA of the band is not having a DNA.
My voice.
Your voice, yeah, that is definitely the red line.
But
I
I
agree.
try to develop that one as well. You know, I try to be more of a playing different styles, different voices, different. You know, I just try to push myself to see if I can do this or if I can do that. It's just a really ego trip for learning.
When you were creating these songs, or even before you even think about creating a song, did you ever start working on a track that maybe perhaps the mindset was to create a Pain song, but it's gone so far outside of the realm of what a Pain song could even be, that you held back, or there's no such thing as too far outside of the realm of what a Pain song could be?
No, I mean, there's no limits. I mean, hypocrisy, yes. Don't want to change it too much. We just want to make better songs. You know, we have our style with hypocrisy, and nowadays I think we should just stick to it and just make better songs. With Pain, I'm just still searching for different things, but I guess in the end, you can hear it's a Pain song because of maybe sounds or the way tones are structured or whatever. So I mean, I don't really think too much with Pain. The only thing I thought was like before I started writing it, I listened to the latest one, Coming Home, and my impression was like maybe it's a little bit too experimental and too sleepy for me at the moment. So I immediately, when I started writing, Push the Pusher was the first song I wrote. So I wanted to go more industrial, more heavy, more I don't know, groovy. It's a party album, I would say. You know, something that you warm up before listening to, chug down a couple of drinks, and then go to a concert, or if you're at the party or whatever. You know, just to get you in the spirit.
When I was listening to it, that's exactly how I felt to me. It was like a dancing party album. Like, you better have your dancing shoes on once you press play, because it's still heavy. It's still a heavy record, but it has this fun and almost the ability to force you to let go.
Yeah,
It has that freedom to it.
yeah, I think so too, and that's the whole point. I think with Pain, just to push it and really just get a good vibe to it. Of course, we have slow songs and stuff. I Am, for example, that song is about cancer. That's really about, you know, real life for all of us. But other than that, it's mainly just stand up for yourself and, you know, don't take shit from other people. And if you want to party, party hardy.
Is this album, when not just this album, but when you're putting together a Pain record, is it as much fun for you to make the album as it is for me as a listener to really enjoy what you put together?
That's a good question. I don't know. I'm the only judge, and I'm a really tough judge to myself. So I try to make sure I really like what I hear before I release it. So if people get into it and like it, it's a bonus, of course, you know. But most important thing for me is that I really have to be behind it and like it, what I'm doing. I mean, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, I would not never dare to do a very naked song like Go with the Flow, you know, start singing very naked. But, you know, I guess you get a little bit more self-confidence and you dare to try more things. And so you find new ways, new techniques, new voices, new ideas. And that's really my goal with Pain. And it was in 95 when I started slowly.
Can you trace back to where that influence of industrial techno electronic sound comes from in your life? Do you remember where that love for that kind of experience comes from?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in the beginning, it was really I was trying to do Goa trance music in the 90s, in mid 90s, because I really liked uh, how they had like 8 minutes long song with the same thing, but even still made it very interesting to listen to. You went into this I would say, journey with the song, and it took you everywhere. And then it comes down and it slows down, and then it comes back up. And I was very impressed of the sound. This is so much distortion in these things at those days, and so I tried to do the same thing, but my keyboard sounds were really shitty. So I had to add guitars on top of it, and that became my signum, I guess. And nowadays you try to learn to get better sounds and things like that. And I really like to put my foot in the 80s on some songs. I like to put my foot in the 90s and so on, because that's how I was brought up. And my dad in the 70s, he was building synthesizers and things like that. So I was always in the 70s feeded with electronic music from his side, like Jean-Michel Jarre and bunch of stuff. So I always had that, but I was never into it in that kind of way. I mean, I enjoy listening to the stuff, but it was nothing that I was even considering writing. So yeah, you grow and you get more curious and you want more challenge.
You mentioned about your vocals being the red line. I thought on this album you were a little bit not looser, but it felt like you took a little bit more liberties, and you
Yeah.
went in some different directions, adding some electronic sounds to your voice in certain songs. I just felt like you were totally into the vibe of the moment. Is that fun for you to kind of even though that the vocals are the red line, still work on those and make them as dynamic as the sound behind them is?
Yeah, because I mean, I have to go for myself what I hear, and I need it to be interesting. And many of the songs I had to adapt my voice to the song itself, depending which song it was, because yeah, like I said, like Go With The Flow, that's very naked. It's a 80s kind of drum sound and a bass going. And what the hell do a death metal singer sing on this? I have to challenge myself a lot to try things, because it's a part of this idea that I had 30 years ago of trying to develop myself, but in a public way, I guess.
The drum sound on the record is really cool. I really like what you guys
Thank
have
you.
done with the drums. I love the texture. I love the sound. I love the impact that it has on the songs. It almost, for an album that has such an industrial backdrop and an electronic backdrop, the drums give it a more human feel to it. Was that the goal
Yeah.
from the get-go?
Yeah, I mean, Sebastian is such a great drummer, and of course, I wanted to keep it very, how do you say, uh, very stiff in a way. But I have a really great drum room that really produces this, if I want, Bonham sound together with drums, but that wouldn't fit too much to Pain, I would say. But so I use a little bit of that room together with the drums, and he's such a machine when it comes to playing. So it just he just hits so good and everything. So I really don't have to do too much stuff on it. But of course, I have to choose sometimes some more stomp in the kick, because it fits better to this kind of music and things. So you add together with his real bass drum, you add sounds to it to get it more formed in this industrial or more modern sound kind of way. So that's what we did. We just adapt my singing, his drumming, my guitar playing, everything to the song itself, and that's really how the production grew out from it.
I have to ask you about Fair Game, and I might be completely out to lunch on this one, but when I was listening to Fair Game, I heard a little bit of the Beatles in there.
Mm.
Do you have them as an influence to your sound? Do you hear what I'm hearing in that song when you play it back, a little bit of the Beatles here and there?
No, but I'm happy that you say that, because that's my favorite band of all time since I grew up. So I'm honored to hear that. Thank you. But it was not really my point. My point was just to make a very touching song. I mean, like in the way of the mood of the sounds, the harmonies and tones, structure, and on top you put a positive lyric on top of it, you know, so you have really a little bit screwed up thing there, because usually when you hear ballads it's all broken hearts or whatever, you know, and this one is more actually, you know, to rise up from shit and, you know, try to find and fight everything, you know, that you think is wrong.
When I was listening to that song, I was like, "Man, if the Beatles were still around and if everybody was still around and they did a song with you, that's exactly how the track would end up." And I was like, I
Oh
love it.
wow.
I'm a huge Beatles fan, so I was like, man, I could hear like some little in the corners, in the distant corners of that song, I could hear some Beatles, and I thought it
Yeah.
made the song even more touching.
Yeah, well, I listened to Beatles since I was born, you know. So my mom and dad fed me that, and, you know, surroundings in the 70s. So I'm really happy to hear that. Thank you.
Now, all the different bands and all the different projects that you've worked on, including Pain, is this a result of who you are as a creative mind, or is also a result of who you are as a music listener?
I think it's both, because I'm very ADHD kind of person, and I don't like to stand in one place. Uh, Definitely when it comes to pain. In the 90s, 2000 with hypocrisy, yeah, we were searching for our style, and I think we found it. And now, later years, we really try to take care of that, because that's a precious thing to have your own style, kind of thing, you know, in this world of so many bands. So we're gonna cherish that and not try to do any crazy shit. But like I said, with Pain, it's just it's not a job, it's an adventure, you know. When I write, it can go anywhere.
When you look at the songs that make up this record, is there one that stands out to you as perhaps the most difficult one to get from the thought that you had to the finished product?
Yeah, Push the Pusher, that one
And
almost
that was the
made me
first
want
one.
to. Yeah, but I mean, to write it and things and have it there, it's fine. But then when you have to clean it up and start mixing it for the album and things, and I had huge problem with it. I do not know why. Maybe it's because of the tone it goes in, to get the same kind of smack in your face. It was really hard, and it took me a long time. Also with lyrics, I had a different ideas, because I was, you know, this was, yeah, 21 in March, April, or something like that, and I was so sick and tired of this cancel culture shit, you know, that people were trying to do. So I was lyrics was about that from the beginning, and then I had a conversation on the phone with someone that really pissed me off, and then it changed it pretty fast, the lyrics, you know. So but still, it's about, you can't cancel anyone because you think it's right to do it. I don't want to grow up. I don't think anybody wants to grow up that's in the 50s or 40s or whatever. We don't give a shit, you know. The older you get, the more you're like, fuck this, I do what I want, you know. And I guess that's the nature of getting old, becoming grumpy old men, you know, like the movie. But you know, what the fuck, you know, we lived our life for over 50 years. Don't give a shit anymore, you know. And we have to choose to do what we want to do, and also, of course, take responsibilities of things that you do. So I'm not saying to go out and do whatever you want, but, you know, in a normal way. So that feels good too, and it makes me a little bit more brave. And also with the vocal stuff, you know, I hate my voice. I always did since I started singing, and that was one of the reasons why I brought in Masse for the two Hypocrisy albums, because I couldn't sing death metal, because I came more from, in the 80s, we had a band called Conquest, and we did a bunch of demos, and it was a little bit more like this thrashy Anthrax, before Among the Living. kind of stuff that we were doing. So I was kind of trying to sing normal, but it was really a disaster. So with pain, it's a huge challenge nowadays. But I learned with hypocrisy the hard way. I learned to sing death metal on the tour with the Cannibal Corpse in '93 because our singer at that time that was on 2 albums, he just left home after 5 gigs, and we had like I don't know 30 gigs. So I really had to just learn by doing. And now I feel comfortable with the death metal things, you know. So with this clean stuff and being schizophrenic and different kind of styles of vocals, it's tough, but I'm getting better at it, I think.
I would never be able to tell that those are the challenges you face considering what the finished
Yeah.
product is. I would say, like, it just comes so natural, at least to me, it sounds so natural. One last
All right.
question for you. The last time I saw you in Toronto, you were here on tour with Hypocrisy. We got to
Yeah.
spend some time together. When are we gonna get to spend some time together on a Pain tour playing in Toronto?
Right now, we're working on September for North America. So if it will happen, it will come pretty soon, these dates, within a few weeks. Otherwise, we have to move it a little bit forward. We were in contact with a new agency for a half a year until we realized it wasn't working out that well. So now we have to start from the beginning again. So we will go back to Continental that I used with Hypocrisy because I thought maybe Pain should have something different. So it's yeah, maybe you can get a different kind of connections with opening bands and things. So it's not a death metal 4-piece band tour because this
Mhm.
is a little bit different. And I would like to bring in some different kind of bands, but I don't know yet. I just want to go and play, and that's the goal right now. So we'll see how it goes in the
Well,
next few weeks.
I'll be keeping my fingers crossed. Dying to see you guys play some Pain in Toronto. Always a pleasure to see you. Always a pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah,
So I hope that everything goes according to your plan and you put something together for us. And
yeah,
I'll see you at Toronto maybe this fall. It would be amazing.
yeah. I really hope so. It would be fucking great because it's. I mean, we did one tour opening up for Orphan Land, but that was a long time ago, and I think we need to have a different kind of crowd. This is not a hypocrisy crowd. I mean, I have some hypocrisy fans that likes Pain and will come to the show, but my goal was not, you know, to please hypocrisy fans, and they know it because otherwise hypocrisy would have started changing in the mid '90s in sounds and things. So let's see. Most of most of the crowd we have is like couples and girls, which is
Really?
for me. I have no problem with that.
I'm
And
sure
you
you're
know, when you know there's girls there, the guys will come
I
for
was just
sure.
gonna say that. I think that's one of the reasons why black metal shows are always sold out.
Hmm.
Because I don't know about
Yeah,
in Europe, but here in North America, the female audience, there's a huge female audience when it comes to black metal shows, and I think the guys just
yeah,
come by default.
yeah. I mean, it's more. I don't think it's black metal girl. It's more gothic girls in that sense as
Yeah.
well. Yeah. Which I mean, any person in any kind of genre, I don't care. Just go to the show. I mean, we have a lot of tempo on our shows, and we connect with the audience in a total different way that we do with hypocrisy. You will be surprised. It's fun.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I hope you guys sell out everywhere because I know the cost of visas these days are way more expensive. Everything is going through the
It
roof. The life of a
it's
musician is
insane.
becoming yeah, yeah. The life of a musician is becoming way more difficult. I mean, it was difficult before the pandemic. The pandemic made things worse, and now things are seem to becoming even worse with the cost of rentals, gasoline, visas, the works. So I hope you guys sell out
Well,
and you sell a lot of merch.
yeah, I hope so too. Yeah, it's to start with the fresh band going to a North American tour is like starting from zero, you know, because you have no numbers that you can do. Um, you want to start fresh, you know, and it takes a while to build it up. So the first tours we will do will probably go minus 30, $40,000. but we have to start somewhere. It's an investment, and I believe in this, and I think people will enjoy the shows for sure. Your problem in Canada, if I may say, is you have to change people in the government. But I know everybody knows about that, all the carbon taxes and things. I'm very much into what's going on in the world, so I
Dude,
can
it's crazy. Like the gas
tell you a lot of stuff.
last week went up by 15 cents overnight. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Like
I know.
pretty soon I gotta pay my work to go to work. Like if that makes sense.
Yep.
Because I'm not
Yep.
I'm
I
I'm
know.
spending more money going to work than what I make at work, and it starts to become an issue.
Yeah. So you have to vote right. Get Trudeau out of this madness.
I hope he doesn't stay, to be honest. That's my goal, but I mean, I'm just one guy. So
Yeah, I know, I know, I know. I'm just saying he's a puppet for World Economic Forum. He thinks with them. He doesn't think about the Canadian people and how they suffer with all this. You have 3 million people going to the food court every day. What the hell? It's insane
yeah.
how they. And I see America is the same thing: open borders and uh, find this socialism kind of vibe. And you can Google it. Socialism doesn't work. It's been proven over and over again. So I'm sorry to say.
You know,
I'm not a
it's
politician, but I got brain. It's
Hey,
common sense,
but you still have your opinions, and everybody's entitled to them, regardless of being a
Yeah,
politician or not. I had this conversation the other day with a friend of mine, and I said that how come being a politician is the only job that doesn't require education? I mean,
exactly.
I could have grade 12 and become the prime minister, but meanwhile, if I want to be a
Mhm.
doctor, I have to go to school, I have to learn, and I have to show my diploma. I think if
Yeah,
you want to be a politician, there should be some sort of education that's a requirement in order for you to become one, not just be popular and get the vote.
yeah. Especially for the finance minister, should know everything about 1 plus 1 is 2. If you do this, this will happen. But they just don't give a shit.
It's not
And they're
about
so all of them. I'm not only talking about, but I just gave you an example because I know what you guys are going through in Canada. I know what's going on in America. I know what's going on in most of the country because that's my hobby to listen to all these things, both left side and right side and middle and things like that. So I make my own opinion about things.
that's important. I think it's important to understand what's going on around you. It makes you a much
Yeah.
better prepared person to the things that you have to deal with. And right now the
Yeah.
world is it's going to hell in a handbasket, to be honest with you, because the people in charge don't really care about the people. They just care about
No.
themselves.
Yeah.
It's a sad state of affairs, if you ask me.
Yeah, I'm a very negative person and things, but when it comes to the world for the future, I'm actually pretty positive because I see people discover that things are not as they are told, and they see that on their bill when they go to the food store or to the gas station or you name it, when you pay the electric bills or gas bills and things like that. And you, as America, has one of the biggest natural resources, but they don't want to drill or, for gas because they want to go to Venezuela or to Middle East and make these huge boats spew out shit when it goes from A to B, and that's another thing because they always talk about the Green New Deal. Well, then you should keep it in the country, right? So you don't have any pollution from importing it from somewhere else. And all these tankers, they are insanely very bad when it comes to the environment. If you want to talk about that stuff.
Yeah, and not to make this a political conversation, but I just want to say that I
Yeah,
think you propose something that, like the carbon tax you mentioned, when you propose something like that, I think you also have to propose something on the other side, not just tax somebody from one thing, but then propose something on the other hand. For example, like if I wanted to not use carbon and I wanted to get an electrical car, I can't afford one. So like,
mm.
how am I supposed to help? You know what I mean? Like you're taxing me for something that I have no other option but to use it because I have no other
Bingo.
means. I have no other means of transportation. So like, give me an alternative, and I won't use that one. You know what I mean? Like that to
Yeah.
me is the logic that should be the logic used, but it's not the logic that's being used. So
No, because they just don't give a shit. And they put you in a situation where you cannot be that you can't cope with, that you cannot control. You know, you just have to face it and pull down your pants and do it. That's the whole idea.
and that's why
So
we need a new pain record so we can forget about all this shit and just put our dancing shoes.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But like I said, I'm optimistic because I know people are getting smarter. They research more things, and like if we do this, this will happen. Because nobody tells you what will happen when they come up with these phony ideas. Either they raise the carbon tax and then they give you some payouts to cover that. I mean, it's like changing money, like this and that all the time. What's the point? It's not going to be better world because you pay more taxes. It's not in the taxes. It's in the way you produce carbon taxes, if that's so important right now. But if you go down now with the CO2 down to under 0.02, then all plants start dying. And right now we are on 0.04. And because of this 0.04, they're breaking all the countries. You know, it's really retarded, but that's how they are. But like I said, I have faith in people to start understanding.
You have more faith in people than I do. I don't.
Yeah, but I do believe that people will
That's why I
come
spend
around
more.
and say, like, this is not okay, you know?
That's why I spend more time with my pets than I do with people. To be honest with you, I
Yeah.
prefer the company of animals than I do the company of people. At least
Yeah.
the way they reciprocate their attention is completely honest and truthful, and there's never any hidden agendas with your pets, you know, or animals in general.
Yeah, exactly. They're the best. They're most honest and loving people, kind of. So,
That's
I
true.
mean, uh, yeah. So that was my little politic spewing.
That
So I
was
hope
good. That
people
was good.
don't
That was a
get
nice way of.
offended or anything, but I just had to say it.
Listen, I'm with you when you said about being old and not giving a shit. I honestly, I don't give a shit about if people get offended or upset or whatever. Everybody's entitled to have an opinion and voice that opinion and do it
Yep,
in a civilized manner. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
exactly.
And on that note, thank you very much for your thoughts. Thank you very much for your
Yeah,
music.
thank
This
you.
record is phenomenal. I honestly like. I
Thank
enjoyed
you.
every freaking second of it.
Oh,
I have
great.
a
Thank
funny
you.
story. I have a funny story to tell you about this record, but I'll leave that for when I see you in person because
Okay.
something that happened to me when I was listening to it that I thought was kind of funny. But I'll
Oh,
tell you
well.
that I'll tell you that when I see you in Toronto when you're playing here.
Yeah, definitely, man.
All right,
Let's keep our fingers crossed that it will work out and it will happen. Put it that way.
that's exactly what I'm
But
gonna
it
be
will
doing.
happen for sure. But it's just like now we're planning on September, so I really hope that it will happen.
All right, all the best, man. Thank you very much for taking the time
You
as
too.
always. Take care.
Yeah. See you, and I hope to see you and everybody in Canada, of course.
All right, man. All the best.
Cheers. Have a good one.
Cheers.
Bye bye.